Hello, all you hardcores out there. How are you doing? It's Big P here. You know the rest. Today we're joined by Kent from Ireland. How are you doing, Kent?
Dead on, Russell. How's it going? You keeping
I'm
okay?
all right, mate. What's happening with sport of boxing, Kent? Save me. Can you save it, Kent?
I think it's beyond that now, Russell. To be quite honest, with the last few weeks, the last few months, I think the last few years we've been on like a collision course with it, but the last few months has been an absolute disaster. To be honest, I think we're getting to the point now where it's unsavable. Bring back leisure centre fight nights because boxing at the minute is in an absolute dire state. Dire, absolutely dire.
Not looking good, is it? Where's Mr. Bean, Kent?
uh, where exactly? Where is he? Where is Adam?
If Bean was taking time out, he'd have come out and said, "Look, I'm taking a bit of time out. I've hurt my shoulder, or I've got a wart on me, on my arse, or something on it." But yeah, we've got now is the Bean cover up, haven't we?
Well,
what has Bean been doing?
you know, they indicated that he was getting treatment. What type of treatment? They've indicated that he's been away on holiday. It's is he in the prairie? Is he in the prairie?
I'm hearing is it prairie, but I'm also hearing he could have possible bank accounts in Jersey and his dog's name like Harry Redknapp. So we don't know what's going on doing with Bean on Bean Island.
But tell you what, he's not stupid, is he? If he's got offshore bank accounts and all that, Russell, sure he isn't.
Well, we don't know, but Bean's a mover and a shaker. I mean, Bean could be conducting things behind the scenes with MTK. He could be sat like Willard White in some hotel in Dubai, couldn't he?
Oh my word, that's absolutely that's savage to be honest with you. And I seen it. I posted it. Even Hatman is calling him Bean now. It wasn't too long ago. He done a video slating you for calling him Bean, and
Yeah, I
you
know.
know, yeah, the tide doesn't have change, Russell, in boxing. Sure, it doesn't.
Hey, listen, mate. On a Monday they want to stab it back. On a Tuesday they want to be your mate. And on a Thursday stabbing it back. And on Sunday they want to have a bit of Sunday roast. Do you know what I mean with you? So it's ups and downs, isn't it? But the Bean story, I'm smelling cover ups. Yeah, there's something a bit more sinister to it. I've heard Bean is out on his ear at Sky. Now, whether his ego can take that or don't know. If he's coming back to Sky, well, come out and make a statement. Do you know what I mean? So we don't know what's happening, but we need to put a missing person's broadcast out for Bean. We miss Bean.
Do you miss him, Russell?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, because like he talks a lot of nonsense and that. I miss him for his comedy because surely to God he knows he's comedy, like John Fury, innit? And all them around him, they all know he is. All them that have been around him all them years at Sky, he's pure theatre being, isn't he?
Yeah, he does. He gives us something. He's just one of them broadcasters, Russell. He just gives us stuff to talk about.
Yeah, free Bean, free Bean. Free him. I mean,
Oh,
is he on remand in Scrubs? Or is he
warm with script. Where do you reckon he is, Russell? Do you reckon he's in H8?
I think he's in Priory. I think he's probably in shock. I personally think he's lost his job there, right? That's what I think. And it wouldn't surprise me if Johnny Nelson stepped up to the plate. Like when Bob Paisley left. You know what I mean? Joe Fagan stepped up, didn't
Yeah,
he? Well, I
yeah.
think this could be like one of them moments. It could be a Joe Fagan moment when Johnny Nelson steps up to the big chair. But
But
that's
but Russell, if he's in the Prairie, who's paying that? Who's going to be paying that for him? Because
it could be Bean's family, couldn't it? Or it could be I don't know, somebody. He might have got it through that sporting chance thing. I don't know. I don't know. They might have had an only Beans fan account. I don't know, mate. So it's all shrouded in mystery. But is Bean gonna spill the beans if if he is out in the cold? If Bean's out in the cold, is he gonna spill the beans?
Well, if he is what they're saying, he's a gambling addict, and he's gambling on the product that they're actually showing. I don't actually know if that's classed as, if there's anybody listening to this and they know, is that classed as inside trading?
Insider trading. What this is like watching some Wall Street film with Michael Douglas. This and Charlie Sheen. Insider trading. Ken, how did we get onto that?
It's like this could be like a Wall Street 3 film, so it could be Wall Street 3 with Mr. Bean, Adam Smith.
Mr. Bean, Adam Smith, bless him. He's put 29 year in at Sky. You know, when it will come in top for him, he managed to do a bit of moonlighting on darts, but once you start with that game, it's a slippery slope, isn't it? And let me tell you this: if the Nelson boy gets offered Bean's position, he'll grab it with both hands, and there'll be a few heartfelt tweets and all that, and it'll be well, I went to see Adam, and we go way back, and he's passed the baton on to me. It'll be all that nonsense, but trust me, the manoeuvring Nelson into position of power.
Yeah, look how long they go back. Remember the time he was up at he was knocking around, he was hanging about the Winklebank gym like a bad smell for years.
Yeah. He was following him around, mate. If you went up Winkerbank in '90s, you'd see Mr. Bean stood talking to Naz's old man in shop just up road on right hand side.
I wonder if he actually bought anything out of the shop, Russell.
No, he was just there all day chatting about nonsense, a cacophony of noise. But
I wonder if he ever went out with them, and you know why they loved a bit of a party at the weekends. I wonder if he ever went out with them on a night out.
Yeah,
you could picture that, couldn't you?
Bean had gone out. He'd have done a max. One, he'd have been sat there with a Coca-Cola. Do you know what I mean? So right then, Kent. Let's move on from Beangate. Let's talk about the Gad with his fake vape cigar thing in his hand. He's got this big thick cigar in his hand like Jimmy Savile. Have you seen it?
I've seen him the last couple of weeks with a vape. He's been vaping quite a lot now.
Like cigar things in his feet. They look like a cigar one, don't they?
Oh my word!
I've seen that. If you look at that IFL interview, he's there with this big thick cigar thing that lights up and he's puffing on it.
He's traumatizing at times.
Well, he is up. You know what he reminds me of? Do you know Fat Tony Salerno? You know, Mobster.
Yeah.
Well, you see Fat Tony with pork pie hat on and cigar in hand all time. Or Paulie off of Goodfellas. He's like him, in he, Gad, but he's like got electric one, hasn't he? So I'm warming to the Gad though at the moment. I'm warming to him because he's gone full on rogue, hasn't he?
I don't know why this has happened with him. I think he's just seen the opportunity to try and create something different for himself. I don't think he's doing it. I don't think he's being like this for the love of boxing. I think he's being like this for himself. He's almost created like an anti-matchroom Eddie Hearn alter ego. So he has.
He's trying to copy me, isn't he? He's trying to take something from me, I think.
He's trying to create something completely different for himself. And
Gad, get your own thing going, Gad. Stop trying to be porky.
I suppose if he's doing that there, he's keeping himself relevant. So he is.
Keeping himself relevant, mate. Listen, mate. Do you know when it comes on Top Foot Gad? It'll be on News at 10, mate. It'll be in Scrubs, mate, with the rest of them, won't it? On 43.
Him and Adam Smith.
Well, you never know. Could you imagine that Adam Smith and the Gad on a Sunday morning? Could you imagine the Gad
slapping out?
Yeah, the Gad in his bed. Adam Smith bursting into the cell and saying, God, we've got boiled eggs today. It's Sunday. Come on, Gad, get out of bed. Gad just pulling a quilt over his head. Oh, not for me this morning. Well, I'll get yours and we'll have them for sandwiches later, Gad. It's
My
like
word.
camping out. It's like camping out. It's Adam Smith bouncing around wing, loving it, thinking, "Wow, this is real life situation."
He'd be taking the slap bucket down. He'd be slapping out for him so and all as well. So he would.
Peter Fury at End at Landing is saying, "Gad, have you got my Daily Mirror?"
That's that would be actually terrifying, wouldn't it? That would be terrifying.
Oh, the God, it would be. And, anyway, moving on from that, Josh Warrington, where's he heading now? Is it Skid Row?
Where does he go now? Like this is twice now. This has happened. It looks to me it's just that whole. He left Eddie that time, and he was with Frank. He was in a position. He won a world title. You know, he had the Kaiser Chiefs. He fought at Allen Road. He won the world title. It was perfect matchmaking against Lee Selby at the time, who was coming the end of his career, and he was a world champion. He had that massive fight against Carl Frampton at Manchester. Many thousand there. It was sold out, and he was making good money. He was selling out arenas. He was boxing in stadiums, and he left Frank Warren out of greed. It was absolute greed. He left Frank Warren for the DAZN money in America. He was promised a stateside fight, which I think he's still talking about. I think he's delusional about that, and he's fighting during COVID in a studio, and he was getting his head punched in by Hilacio Lara, who Matchroom at the time claimed that they didn't know anything about him and they didn't know who he was, even though that Matchroom and DAZN in America have a massive stable of Mexican fighters and put on a lot of Mexican shows. He was sparring Navarrete, and there was the whole talk about, yeah, we'll bring you back and you fight Zhu Khan, and we'll do that in America and it'll be a big fight. That didn't happen, and now at the minute he's in an absolute limbo. It's been a disastrous return since he come back to DAZN. Disastrous.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a mess. He's chopped and changed, hasn't he, Josh Warrington, throughout his career at crucial times. But you've got to give Bricktop credit. He got him world title when Eddie Hills come, didn't he?
Got him a world title, and he got him at an Allen Road. You know,
Yeah.
that's what he wanted. He wanted a stadium fight, and he got it. And he got that massive fight against Carl Frampton. Yeah, Carl was way past his best at the time, but it still was a good fight. I don't think he would have beat Carl when Carl was at his best a couple of years before that. But you know, what percentage was he on ticket ways for? I remember hearing something before. He was on a percentage of the tickets. He used to sell a lot of tickets from the gym, and he was on a percentage. He was on like what something like £2 or 150 or £1 a ticket, something like that there, and he was selling a lot of money's worth of tickets. From that to now, you know, it's hasn't been really good business since.
Yeah, and that's it.
Where does he go from here?
Yeah. Oh, I seen it. I seen his dad, old Billy Bunter, on telly the other day saying that they want Lee Wood. They got begging bowl out for Lee Wood.
I suppose it's a logical fight. I suppose that the Lee Wood is a logical fight, but that's only if Lee Wood comes through Lara. That's for me. That's a really good fight from DAZN and Matchroom. It's probably one of the best fights that they've put on in a long time. I'm surprised they aren't even charging like a pay-per-view method for it, because it really is that good a fight. But I suppose that, you know, I suppose Lee Wood doesn't want to go back domestically, or after the Lara fight, if he wins that, I don't think he does win that fight, but why would he want to come back and fight in UK? Would he not want to go and fight abroad in America, stateside, against someone? It's the timing. It seems to me the timing's right now for Josh Warrington to fight Lee Wood. I don't think the timing now is right for Lee Wood to fight Josh Warrington.
Oh yeah.
No, not career wise. No, not trajectory. You know, he's probably going to want to go stateside and get a really really big fight in America. But I suppose that Warrington and Wood would be a really really big arena fight. You know, Lee Wood is really really popular. He sells well in Nottingham, so I suppose that fight could happen. But if I was Lee Wood, I would want a mega fight in America for a lot more money than he would be getting against Josh Warrington coming off a loss.
Where do you see Johnny Bravo's career heading now, aka Shane McGuigan?
I'm not going to Shane bash because I like Shane. I think Shane's a good coach, but I think the Dubois thing the last couple of weeks people have been saying, but I don't think that's really Shane's fault. You know, I just find Daniel Dubois really really hard to connect with. You know, really hard to connect with watching him. Is he like that when he's taking instruction? If he is, it's going to be hard for any coach to do anything with Daniel Dubois. I don't see any change in Dubois at all since he's went to Shane. I don't see. Yeah, he can put shots together well, and he's punching through the target. But as a heavyweight fighter, you should be putting your shots well together, and you should be punching through the target. So I don't see anything different. Shane's got a good stable at the minute of fighters. They're all in good positions, so I don't think one bad performance merits throwing Shane onto the bus, I suppose.
Could the Septics say that you're sticking up for Johnny Bravo because he's a fellow countryman?
No, I like Shane. I do like Shane. I know the whole Frampton and McGuigan thing was terrible, but he had to do what was right for Carl. I think in that situation there, I think Shane and Carl were really good friends, and I think both of them lost out. You know, because they had a good friendship. You know, Carl was at Shane's wedding as his best man at the time with his first wife, and they did have a good bond. They were good friends, and I think at the time, I think Barry had a lot more say in what went on in camp. You know, training ways, money ways, management ways. I think now that's been reined in, and Shane's got a lot more clout and a lot more say and what actually goes on in the day-to-day running of the gym. There was a lot of talk. You know, Carl had said that he had been sparring over 210 rounds of sparring in camp with much heavier fighters, and he was just exhausted. And he did say that as boxing people, they are very good, but as people and business people, he was very disappointed on them. He said that I think he said that in the James English podcast when he done the podcast with James English. But I like Shane. I've talked to Shane quite a lot. You know, when Carl was with the McGuigans, and I always found Shane really approachable, really friendly, really open. You know, he liked to talk a lot about boxing. He would ask me a couple of things about boxing, and he's a really good guy. But as far as his dad's the complete opposite. I'm not a big fan of Barry, to be honest with you. I find him as the whole situation with Carl obviously disappointed me, but I just think he's not a very nice person, as well as a bad manager.
You think Carl Frampton will train people?
No, he's no interest in it. He's no Carl. Carl has already said multiple times that to be a trainer, you have to be a counselor, a father, a coach, everything rolled into one. And I don't think Carl has got that love of boxing to spend that much time actually doing that. I don't think he'll ever be a coach. I think maybe manage a fighter or two or mentor a fighter, but as far as train fighters, no, I don't think he has the time at the minute. I don't think he would want to do it either.
Okay. Parker Massey, how do you see that panning out, Kent?
It's a fight that it's a strange fight. So it is. I heard them on yesterday talking on the big fight build up, and they were kind of putting Jack Massey into comparing him to Evander Holyfield. I don't know where they got that from. You know, he's stepping up from cruiserweight and stepping up now to heavyweight. It's a gamble. It's a gamble for them. It really is. It could be an opportunity where they gamble on it and they beat Joseph Parker, and they're neither in a massive position that they get a big fight. I don't think beating Joseph Parker, deserves you a world title fight, but I think it gets him in a position because his he's a good profile. Joseph Parker, he's a good profile in the UK and New Zealand. Now, this is the first time in New Zealand that one of his fights has not been shown as a pay-per-view fight. It's not on pay-per-view in New Zealand. It's on free to air. So that shows you, is his popularity dwindling? He is coming off a loss. So who wants to pay for a pay-per-view of someone who's coming off a loss? But it's a bizarre fight. It's really random. It's not a fight you would be sitting here talking about. What's your dream fight for 2023? Yeah, Jack Massey and Joseph Parker. It's not exactly gonna make me excited to watch the bill. And it's interesting, but it's not really it's a mark time heavyweight fight, if you ask me.
The breakfast boy, and I mean that to any man out there what thinks he can take John Fury, because I'm the best fighter out there. There's nobody can beat me, because I'm willing to die and give me life and get 35 years before I lose. I'm an extremely violent man when it comes down to the old fisticuffs, because I'll do anything I can to win. And I call street fighting. It's a dangerous job, and I'm a dangerous dude. Unbeaten. Step in my face, hell coming to breakfast, mate, because I know I can fight. And I'm a dangerous mother, believe me. I'm the real deal, mate. And that goes out to anybody who thinks they can take me today or any other day. It's finished in one way. Them splattered up the floor and the head kicked off.
Yeah, it's just a tick of a fight for Parker, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it's a mark time fight. He gets paid for it. Bless me.
All right. What about his opponent on the night? It's Big Phrase.
I see Fraser Clark actually becoming more of a character now and a personality more than a boxer. It's been disappointing. He's going to have 5 fights this year. He made his debut last February, so he could probably get another fight in before that. So he could end the year with 6 fights. It's frustrating because his first fight was really poor against a guy that came from white collar that he should never have been in the ring with, especially when you're coming off you're training up in EIS, you're a world-class amateur, you're sparring world-class fighters most days, you're in a championship environment. to boxing a guy who come from white collar with actually relatively no experience. I don't see how the board were allowed to sanction that. This second fight was Bracamonte, which was a really, really solid win. Yeah, he was fat as a pig, Michelin man, but that was a really, really good win for Fraser Clark against Bracamonte. You know, Bracamonte did this 10 rounds and give Big Baby Miller an absolute nightmare 2 weeks before that. So it looked like they were going somewhere, but the level of opposition from that hasn't been great. He didn't look great against Kamel Sobolowski. That was a good, you know, he's a really, really good journeyman. You know, that's the type of fight you want him to look good, and he didn't look great in that fight. So we're now, you know, I said that, you know, down the line, you know, within 10 fights, he should be challenging for a British or European title. You know, he should be fighting guys domestically like Nick Webb. He should be fighting international fighters like Marius Vac, Christian Hammer, Calvin Johnson. You know, they're the level of they're the type of fighters that we can gauge where his progress is at the minute. And at the minute, the matchmaking hasn't been consistently good enough for us to actually say where is he going with his career.
So in other words, it's Big Phrase is fighting Bin Man.
Yeah, basically, yeah, he should be fighting. You know, he boxed at a really, really high level as an amateur, and that means he doesn't need to box at that low level journeyman stage, that development stage. He need, you know, with the level he was at as an amateur, he could miss that out and go straight into championship level and not look out of place and be in the position that the fight for a British title and a European title within 4 or 5 fights. Why not? You know, he was Olympic level. He was an Olympic bronze medalist. He shouldn't be fighting at this level he's at now.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I agree. The Juggernaut, Big Joe Joyce, aka the Big Stiff. Are people swerving him?
Who would want to fight him?
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Why would you want to fight Joe Joyce? He's kind of like Martin Bacoli, but on a lesser scale. He's on the only saving grace for Joe Joyce at the minute is that he's with Frank Warren. You know, he's got BT behind him, and Frank knows that he's in a position, he's there, he's ready to use him whenever belts. Listen, we don't know what's going to happen with belts. You know, the talks have been put back between Usyk and Fury. You know, section of bodies are going to turn around and say, you know what, we need paid. The belts could be fragmented, and he could get a world title shot. You know, he is really, really high with the WBO. He's the interim champion of whatever that means with the WBO. So he is in a position. You know, it's a good position to be in. I'm just looking at the WBO rankings here. You've got Joe Joyce as a champion, interim. You've got Ruiz at 1, Sanchez 2, Volin at 3, Hergovic 4, AJ 5, Wilder 6, Demarizian at 7, Parker 8, Gerard Anderson at 9, Dempsey McKean at 10, Caballel, who never fights, at 11, and Zhang Jile at 12, Bacoli at 13, Sorenko at 14, and Henry Hune at 15. So, you know, where is there that you know, it doesn't really seem. You look at Vol, and he beats him convincingly. He beats Hergovic convincingly, who has actually went back to Pedro Diaz's coach in America. Then you've got AJ and Wilder. They're not going to fight for a WBO belt. Demresian, there's nothing. There's no money in that. He's already beat Parker. Anderson is too dangerous as a prospect coming through. Possibly Dempsey McKean, who's a DAZN fighter. Caballel, who doesn't fight. Zhang Zhile, who's a DAZN fighter. And Martin Bacoli, who's the president of the Who Needs Him club. So he's probably not going to fight anybody in there that next fight. If he was going to fight someone in that top 15, you would say the easiest option would be Otto Wallin.
Yeah. What do you think about Anthony Joshua's situation with this Franklin guy? I mean, this guy's ranked below Dave Allen on BoxRec. I mean, what's going on there?
To be honest with you, Russell, I don't really rate the BoxRec rankings because they're absolute trash. To be honest with you, the BoxRec rankings jump up and down like a pinball machine. So I'm not going to pay much attention to that. I actually think Jermaine Franklin's a really good fighter. I thought he beat Dillian White. He took me by surprise. I wasn't expecting him to be as good as he was on the night. Was it because Dillian White is absolutely shot to pieces, or was it because Jermaine Franklin was that good? I think it was a bit of both. I think he surprised us all. He's been very inactive the last 3 years. He went the distance with Pavel Sar. It didn't tell us. It didn't tell us much about how good he was getting into it, and it just told us he wasn't a puncher. But I thought he came out of that fight looking really, really good. He looked really good in that fight. I thought he beat Dillian White, but I suppose coming off against AJ, against a loss, well, AJ's coming off a loss as well. So, what's wrong with Jermaine Franklin as a Poland? Yes, he is coming off a loss, but he's coming off a better loss than Anthony Joshua. He won that fight against Dillian White. Did you watch that fight, Russell?
Yeah. Anthony Joshua's not had a win since Poolath, though, has he?
No, and that was close to over 2.5 years ago. And Poolath at the time was 39 at the time. Now he's 41 now. I'm looking at the top 20 here, and who do you bring? Who would you bring over for Poland for Anthony Joshua? And what type of stage is he in his career? Is he in a rebrand, a rebuild?
Well, they need to make it clear, don't they? I mean, if he's this big superstar, this big commercial superstar, this big draw commanding millions, he doesn't need a warm-up for Dillian White, does he? He should be going in there with your Wilders and your Joe Joyces, or straight away in with White, because they're both coming off losses. He's coming off 2, isn't he? Joshua on trot. You know what I mean? And White's not, he's coming off a bad performance, and Povetkin put into kit, didn't he? I know he got him at rematch, but he had COVID. But I just think that if Joshua is this big commercial draw and he's commanding all these millions of that, and he's only fighting, once every 9 months or something, they can't just serve us up this guy here, take millions to bank, and then they're shouting off about Useks and Wilders and Joyces and Furies. When you're fighting these guys, it'd be like Michael Jordan, wouldn't it, playing non-league basketball or something, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And I think Matchroom actually need to know what stage they're in with him. Is it a rebrand or a rebuild? Are they going to take him on the road? Do they take him on the road to get to flog him for the DAZN subscription? There's Dempsey McKean there, who I said this on the channel over a year ago as a possible opponent for New Zealand. I think he's trained by Mark Tibbs. If I'm right, I think I'm right in that. There's Jamel Miller, he's coming back after a ban. You know, the beef that they had. You know, they could do that in America. They're two basically really easy fights. You've got Franklin, who I think is actually a better fight than the two of them. You've got Zhang Zhile, China. You know, do they take him over there for that for subscription? You know, take him on to these different continents that build a name. It's not, nothing's clear at the minute. You know, Hrgovic, I think Hrgovic is down the line. I think he is waiting there for a vacant belt. I think what Eddie's looking to do is get Hrgovic and AJ for a vacant belt. There's Otto Wallen, who looked absolutely terrible against Kamil Sawalowski. I actually thought he lost that fight in Sky. There's Tony Yoka. You know, do they go Tony Yoka coming off a loss against Bacoli? There's Martin Bacoli there. You know, I can't see them actually wanting that. Luis Ortiz from PBC. You know, he's 43 now. I think he's a southpaw. It's hard to say. It's hard for us to know what they're going to do with them when the zone look like they don't know and Eddie what they're going to do with them.
Yeah, it's fucking it's a bit mad, that, isn't it? Yeah, I see where you're coming from with that. I see where you're coming from with them points made there, though, Kent. But what do you think about Wilder Ruiz, though? Do you think that happens, Kent?
No, I don't, because I think Deontay Wilder could lose 10 fights in a row and still be rated number one in the WBC. The WBC like him. He brings a lot of money to the WBC, like Fury. You know, Fury and Wilder both bring a lot of money to purse bids. And ultimately, the WBC is a business. And the more money they can generate, the more profitable their business, like any business model, is to generate as much income as possible. And I think Wilder and Deontay Wilder, Deontay Wilder and AJ generate a lot of money through purse bids. I think Ruiz doesn't. I don't think he's been active, and I don't think Wilder needs to fight Andy Ruiz because he's rated number one. Yes, the WBC have said that the two of them will fight in a tournament style contender match, but it's the WBC. You know, I take what the WBC say with a complete pinch of salt. I think Wilder has been talking about a mystery opponent this last couple of weeks. The language structure hasn't been that they actually want the Andy Ruiz fight. You know, look at Deontay Wilder's look at his title defenses. You know, when he was WBC champion, they basically cherry picked, you know, his WBC reign, and they picked whoever they wanted, where they wanted, with Al Haymon and PBC. So I don't know. The PBC don't look like they're doing too well in America at the minute. So do they need this? Do they need this fight to save their bacon pay-per-view ways? I don't know. But as far as the WBC is concerned, I take what they say with a pinch of salt. You know, you look at Deontay Wilder's reign. You look at Eric Molina, Juan Dupois, Arthur Spiegler.
Gotta go on to part two, Ken.
Yep.
All right, cheers.
Porky's Corner is proud to be sponsored by Spartan Site Solutions. They are specialists in civil engineering and demolition contracts for the construction industry. Interested parties should visit their website or contact Porky's Corner for a referral at porkycorner@mail.com.